I think PR has been incredibly important as well. Like Nadine was saying, it has helped, get the bags in the right hands, in the right hands of the right people. So that has also helped a lot.
And you're, other than myself, you're one of the biggest champions of regional talent that I know. I know you're a huge advocate of all the amazing talent around us in the Middle East. You joined our company about 2.5 years ago. Tell me how different things have become since then, because if we look at even our content mix on the site, it was probably just the minority would probably have been Middle Eastern talent. What's changed since you joined?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think the biggest difference is that the market has really exploded. And you know as well as I do, if not better, that 2.5 years ago we used to struggle to find talented designers to put on the site. Whereas now we really have the liberty and the luxury to handpick who we want on there because there's just so much talent. I mean, every week, if not every few days, we get contacted by a new accessories designer or a new fashion designer, and it's incredible. And I don't know if they were around and just hiding, or as Bong said, maybe they didn't have the proper structure, and this is where initiatives like Fashion Forward, D3, the Fashion Council really come in because they have provided a structure for these designers to develop themselves, and so that has helped the market explode. And I think another huge difference is the international attention that the market's getting right now. I mean, a year ago, I think it was about a year ago, we had Moda Operandi, who are one of the biggest e-tailers, come to the region. We hosted a dinner with them, a cocktail reception, and they spent the next day with a selection of regional designers. Going through the collections, giving them advice, picking some designers to have on the website as well, which is huge. And I know, for example, that these lovely ladies are stocked all the way to the US. 5 stories, and you're stocked in Brooklyn, which is just incredible to have our designers all around the world. So yeah.
I want to talk a little bit with all of you about barriers to entry in this market. You mentioned something earlier, Natalie, about copying, that you don't copy. And I know, Noor, you and I have this issue constantly that we'll, for example, meet with a new designer in her showroom and we'll ask her, so what was your influence for this collection? And she will actually cite another designer, which in our world is the biggest faux pas. You cannot use another designer as your influence for a collection. You do have a lot of the copying, you don't have barriers to entry, you have people who can quite literally become a designer overnight in this market. They wake up, they want to be a designer, they go to Satchwa, they find a tailor, they show them sketches that they haven't drawn. Typically it's of another designer's work, they tweak this and that here. We had a lot of this a couple of years ago, and now it's kind of weeding out. But what do you all think about the barriers to entry? Are they still very tough? Do they need to be tougher? For example, what is your selection criteria for designers coming to Fashion Forward? Obviously, you have to reject some people at some point. And what do you use sort of to establish those credentials?
Well, for lack of when we first launched Fashion Forward, for lack of some kind of a council that would really screen the participants, we kind of like had to step in and act in behalf of the industry, rightfully or wrongfully. It was a bit tough because what parameters do you use? There are celebrated designers that are, I don't know, is it based on commercial success? Is it based on design sensibilities? Is it on celebrityhood? I mean, there's just so many things, and there were new designers that were just had great talent, and some old guards that are, subjectively on the left or on the right. It was a bit tough for the Fashion Forward team really to screen and select, but I think we somehow managed to reflect the mindset of the community, where it was a bit of those that were really successful, the ones that are new ones, the ones that needs a push, but clearly the ones that had a great sense of style direction that could possibly be global as opposed to just local. And I'm hoping we're continuing to do that. Obviously, very soon we're going to get the guidance of DFC, Dubai Design Fashion Council. 4 letters we're going to be hearing a lot from here on. But yeah, I mean that's and obstacles a lot. I won't even. It'll take me 2 hours at least But I think a lot of funding is required. Media support is starting to come in. If I can just talk a little bit about the media, I mean, I think until about 2 years ago, media largely did cut and paste. They had a lot of canned material from abroad to fill up their pages. They always thought, oh, Middle Eastern, no, we don't go there, we only cover the Ralph Lauren's and the Gucci's on our, precious pages. But I'm hoping that Fashion Forward has changed that. We're hoping that every decent magazine will actually, and any portal would really make sure majority of their content is about homegrown talent.
You should add to the exception that Sapphire Flair did never do.
Of course, it's one of your swan songs actually is to champion them.
Roseanne, you were talking earlier about getting rejections on the phone. How does rejection feel, even despite the fact that you're so successful?
Obviously, it feels like shit.
Are we allowed to say that? Sorry, Mom.
Maybe I'm allowed. The thing is, obviously it feels horrible in the beginning, but I have the support of my family, I think, which is what helps me out a lot. The fact that we're 3 sisters working together. So we cry together. We scream, we hit each other, it works. But we end up, balancing each other out. So once we get a kind of rejection, what I want to add is the rejection isn't the bad part. It's when a rejection comes without a comment. When it's rejection and they actually give you something productive to work off of, that's when you accept it and you move on. But when they just say no, like, okay, then tell me what I'm doing wrong.
But I think that's one of the reasons why designers such as yourself do so well, because you're very open to that criticism, whereas a lot of aspiring designers are not. And so you try to give them feedback and they don't want to hear it, and they have the sense that everything they're doing is right and that they can't be told left from right. Natalie and Nadine, how do you feel about criticism and rejection?
You need constructive criticism to move forward. I mean, this is something we don't have a lot here. We need mentors, we need educational programs for up-and-coming designers, even for established designers, because I've learned my trade by just doing it. I'm not a jewelry designer, and I would never say I'm a jewelry designer. I happen to have become one, but I'm a designer. So it would be nice when D3 eventually probably get an educational program on board, have somebody just like guide you, and probably take you somewhere else.
I have had mentors that were, constantly giving me feedback, and I feel like that was instrumental to me actually being able to create a product that appeals to certain people. I had buyers that were mentors. I had editors. I was always open to hearing feedback, from you, from everybody around me, and I think that is what's, like Nadine said, that is what's lacking a little bit here. I feel like things need to be a little bit harder. We need to be, beaten up a little bit more in order to be able to, go further and be, more determined to do something that would stand out. Being in a design school, I went to design school, and that's where, they would shamelessly, tear up our work into 100 pieces, even if we've been working on it for, an entire month. And that sort of helps you, gather everything, gather the pieces, put it back together, and, create something even better.